Good morning and welcome from a sunny Brighton on the south coast of England. Hope you're all doing well. I hope everybody's fine, and I hope everybody's approaching the weekend in fine fettle. I just wanted to bring you a brief video just to show you a couple of examples. I mean, for those who know, you know, but there are always people who will watch a video who don't know or aren't sure or whatever, and I always try and approach my videos in that way, that I'm talking to somebody who may well be seeing this for the first time, as opposed to preaching to the choir and reminding everybody how fab I am. It's got nothing to do with that. It's also a very sort of, how can I put it, it's a good way to process it for oneself as well, to keep talking about it, to also get a grip mentally as to what we're actually looking at when we talk about things like mud floods, for example. I'm here in a place called Madeira Place, and one of the things that I've noticed in Brighton since I've been here is all these side streets, literally all of them, have evidence of what we call mudflood. What does that mean? Well, it means that the ground that we're walking on clearly is higher than the actual size of the buildings. Or I'll put it another way, what we're standing on here isn't ground level on these buildings, right? These buildings go way deep down, further down. I mean, here, for example, you'll see a bit of concrete flooring. They've obviously left it at that level there. But, you know, you can go further up, like a street like this, and you'll see varying depths inside these trenches, if you like, that have been created by these retaining walls. So I'm basically standing on a retaining wall, and what they would have done, they being the people who restored all of this, the Victorians, they would have pulled the earth back from these buildings, held these walls back, creating them, you know, creating like a retaining wall effect. You don't just see this in Brighton, by the way. I mean, we see this in all sorts of towns and cities throughout the UK, certainly the ones that I've been to, but it's very obvious here. And then, of course, in order to enable access to the buildings that they pulled the earth back from, they end up building things like this, these concrete gangplanks, as I like to call them, staircases that go from the road or the path to the building. But of course, if you took if you took that all away, you'll notice that these stairs here are sort of halfway up the building, right? That there isn't ground level, and neither is this that we stood on. So that's the phenomena, well, man-made phenomena, I should say, that we're talking about when we talk about mudflood. And there's evidence of it absolutely everywhere. You know, you see it in a lot of footage if you look at old Georgian, so-called Georgian houses in London or whatever, and they have all this, don't they? They have the main path that you stood on, then you have like stairways like these here that then connect the footpath to the front of the building, the face of the building. And of course, you know, that there isn't ground level, and neither is this, and neither is that, right? It goes way deeper down. So what's happened there? Now, I understand obviously they would have ridden or lifted the roads up, I get all that, but let's think about this logically. If you're building a building, what is the first thing you have to do before you start building a building and constructing something? You have to make sure that you've got your access sorted out. So an access road, and then clearing the area to then begin the construction, because you need, you need your logistical pathways, you need your transportation to be able to gain access to the site, your workforce, all the equipment that you'd require, etc, etc, etc. Of course, all these things, barring workforce, that wouldn't have really existed in a time that we're told all this lot was built. And again, we're talking the mid 1800s to late 1800s. You know, I'm not going to over labor the point, but the 1800s is pretty much when the technology that we require to build things was actually brought into being in the first instance. So yeah, anyway, just going to walk down here. So in the distance there you can see the sea. Another thing that struck me as well since being in Brighton is that the sea has a different colour than in Bournemouth. It's more aqua turquoise hue here in Brighton, whereas in Bournemouth it most definitely isn't, even though in Bournemouth there are lovely gold sandy beaches. Right, so yeah, like I said, here are just all these examples that you see, and I'm just showing you this road as an example. I'm actually staying on this road in a hotel until Sunday, because that's the duration of the art exhibition that I'm visiting. A friend is doing an exhibition at a place called the Phoenix Art Space here in Brighton, and I'll be doing a couple of more videos throughout my stay here. One of them will be the Royal Pavilion, which is the very oriental, large oriental looking building with the onion domes and stuff like that. That's only a 10-minute walk from where I'm at now. There's also St. Peter's Church. There's also a whole load of beautiful old looking buildings in the sort of cultural art sort of quarter of Brighton, which is up towards the Phoenix Art Centre, the art space I should say. I did take a little recce walk there yesterday just to have a look, and yeah, that's where I'm going to be sort of heading for today. But yeah, for me, it's plain to see. You know, we all walk past buildings that look like that, and we go, okay, sure, they've lifted the roads up. Yeah, well, they have lifted the roads up, they've had to. But I guarantee you, they did not build these buildings originally with the mindset that we're going to gain access to them halfway bloody up them. Right? Definitely not. You would build a building after you've done all this. Road first, then building. Access first, and then building site. That's the way around you do it. Especially in a time where, according to the history books, our technological standards were relatively primitive. Right, so we're talking the sort of inception, if you like, of steam power, the introduction of power tools and stuff. I mean, that didn't even come until the early 1900s, 20th century, sorry, yeah, 1900s, late into the 1900s by comparison, 1920s, 1930s, I do believe, when we're talking power tools, you know. So yeah, there's a lot of questions when you take a look at the history books, or take a look at what we're taught at schools, what the official narrative is, and what we actually see. And isn't it always the way? You know, what we see always seems to contradict what we're told. So what do you go with? Do you go with what you're told, or do you go with your observations and trust your own discernment and use common sense and some logic? Because you are allowed to use some logic. Contrary to officialdom, you are allowed to do that. People are always, for some reason, discouraged to do so. You know, don't trust your own senses, don't trust your own thought processes. We have smart people to do that for you. You just crack on with your life and be a good subservient. Yeah, nah. So there we go. I just wanted to bring that to you. I know those, or a lot of you who will be watching this video will know all about this sort of phenomena, and go, yeah, right, well, that's nothing new. Well, it's nothing new, but it's still a point that needs to be hammered home, really. People need to sort of learn to sort of become aware of these things. For me now, they're glaringly obvious, you know. I can't unsee them anymore. Every time I go out my house, I'm looking at buildings, I'm seeing something different every time, you know. But Yeah, just look at that. All along here. So all of this was built retrospectively when I'm stood on here. All of this would have been built after these buildings were put into place. And another thing you see a lot of in Brighton, I've noticed, are rounded shaped facades on the front of the buildings. And of course, if you look closely, you'll notice it's all brickwork. From a distance you won't see the brickwork, of course not, you'll just see the colours, but when you get up close, it's all brickwork. Every single building you see here. Some of them will have a bit of cladding on it, you know what I mean, but some of them they'll just have a lack of paint on, but it's all brickwork. Quite incredible. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that to you. I will be doing another video later once I get closer to the Royal Pavilion and also up towards the Phoenix Arts Centre, and hopefully if I can I might grab a little chat with my friend who's doing the exhibition and perhaps post a little video there as well to get her to tell us all about what's going on there. In the meantime, from outside the St James at 16 Madeira Place on a gorgeous day, I bid you all farewell and see you all soon. Some of yous much sooner. Until then, ta-ta for now.